my gosh, I started for once. The real reason is because Rachel was chewing up chocolates.
I was like, quick, shove this in my throat. Get down my gullet. Let's go. Anyway. Hi, guys.
Yeah, you got to take it from here because I never know what to do.
Well, we've had a busy week and busy weekend, but we haven't done true crime in a while. And boy, do we have an episode about true crime tonight. Some crazy cases.
Yes. I'm really excited to hear about yours. And mine actually happened here in Georgia.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I have the memory of a literal goldfish, so I don't remember what you're doing.
That's okay. I don't know if I ever told you.
Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah.
You don't remember something I didn't tell you, Rachel?
Well, good. Anyway, we already know how each other's weeks were.
They were horrible. Let's just move on.
Just move on. I was like, we need to take up a little bit of time in the beginning, but I guess we can just talk about the fact that we are still waiting for submissions for the story. Mm-hmm. So we are going to be doing a scary story episode where we do like the fun, I say we, but it's Kaila, does the fun little sound clips and sound effects just to
make them a little spookier.
Yeah, just to add to the effect of the creepiness. And Kaila and I are both going to write our own, but we want some more submissions so that we can fill up an episode with them.
We've seen you guys' ghost stories. We know you can write. And the submission deadline is March 1st. I don't think we ever announced that because we didn't decide it until like this past week.
Somebody had asked on Instagram like when the deadline was, and I was like, oh, when should the deadline be, Kaila?
Yeah, so March 1st, and probably between 2,500 and 3,000 words, roughly like a 5 to 10 minute read. Yeah. So that it doesn't like take up the entire episode. But yeah, we would love to see what you guys can come up with.
Exactly. All right. So where can you find us?
Facebook, Good Luck Sleeping Podcast. Instagram, Good Luck Sleeping Podcast. Twitter at GL Sleeping. If you want to email us your scary story, you can send it to goodlucksleepingpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to call and leave us a ghost story, like a true encounter or whatever, our number is 470-289-0226. And then you can hear us on our website at goodlucksleeping.libsyn.com. We're also on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts.
There you go.
There you go.
I love that I can just sit back and relax when Kaila does that. Because I'm like, all right, time to zone out and get ready for my segment. Okay. Well, let's just hop into it, shall we, friends?
We shall.
Okay. My true crime story that I definitely haven't read before and re-recorded because I was tripping way too much over my tongue.
We are professionals.
See, this is what happens when you have a podcast and you're both perfectionists. If you don't like something, we stop and start completely
because it will bug us for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, because if I recommend our podcast to somebody and they choose to listen to just the last episode that's aired and I don't like it or I don't think it's good enough, same with Kaila, then it's going to eat at us forever, like she said.
Yes.
So here we go.
All right.
So I'm sure you're interested to learn about Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell.
Who are they? I have no idea.
Why don't I tell you some little tidbits and then I'll break it down a little bit further.
Oh boy, okay.
Okay, Lori's children are missing currently. It's Tylee Ryan, who's 17, and Joshua Vallow, who is 7. There's a 10-year age gap between the two, but they are both missing, both minors. Both of the couple's previous spouses are dead, Lori's brother is dead, and the couple is involved in a religious cult. And I will say that the religion that they're involved in isn't just known as a cult in general, really, but the way that they're taking it and kind of the things that they're interested in are definitely very cult-like. So, okay. I'm going to be reading from an Insider article here, and it's entitled, very lengthy title of A Doomsday Couple is Entangled in a Web of Suspicious Deaths and Missing Children. Here's a timeline of the mysterious deaths connected to Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow.
Dun, dun, dun.
By Paulina Cachero. This was written February 4th, 2020. This is an unsolved case. I just want to warn you guys. There is still
no satisfaction at the end.
No, a lot of loose ends that need to be tied up. Things are happening every day. I told Kaila earlier that I've been checking, just information about this case daily because new things are popping up all the time. There's just lots and lots of loose ends that need to be tied.
Questions left unanswered.
Unfortunately, which is so frustrating.
But we may do like a 2-parter with, whatever the result is.
Yeah, there's another case that we did that's still unsolved. That's the Alyssa Turney case. And that is, there's nothing to report yet. But when there is, I'm not going to say if, but when, we'll let you guys know on that.
Yes, we will get justice for Alyssa.
Absolutely.
If it helps, mine's not really technically solved either.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's just so hard to like put yourself into these cases and put yourself into the victim's shoes and then at the end have no justice.
Yeah.
So, okay. March 9th, 1990, Chad and Tammy Daybell marry in Manti, Utah. So they are part of the Jesus Christ Church of Latter-day Saints in Utah, and they started an independent publishing company called Spring Creek Book Company in 2004. Chad wrote over 25 doomsday prep books under the company directed towards Mormon audiences, including fantasies of a dystopian world wrought by bioterrorism attacks and catastrophic natural disasters. Yes?
This reminds me of the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
I love that show.
Like, taken by like one of these cults and put in the ground in a bunker. Maybe they're in a bunker.
Oh.
That would actually be a happy ending.
Yeah. These people are messed up. And we were... Again, in the previous segment that we recorded and are not going to use, we were talking about how we don't want to put them in a box and say, yes, you are completely guilty. We want to kind of go into these true crime stories saying,
open-minded.
Maybe, you know, you're innocent until proven guilty. Yes. So we're going to give you the benefit of the doubt.
But that's really hard when there's so much negative evidence.
Just everything points to these people.
Right.
Okay. In 2001, Lori marries Tylee's father, Joseph Anthony Ryan Jr. So this is Lori's third husband. They married in 2001, and the couple went on to have Tylee in 2002, and Joseph also later adopts Lori's son Colby from her previous marriage.
Okay. Quick question. Do you know what happened to her first two husbands?
They're still alive.
Okay. I just wondered if she's literally a Black Widow.
I know. I think they're still alive, but I don't know for sure. Lori and Joseph eventually got divorced by 2005.
Wow.
February 24th, 2006, Lori weds Leland Charles Anthony Vallow, and this is the husband where she adopts J.J. Vallow. He is the biological grandson of Charles's sister, Kay Woodcock, who is married to Larry Woodcock.
Okay.
So he's from the family. You know, he's blood related, but they actually officially adopt him in 2014.
I didn't catch that the first time, so I'm glad we're doing this.
There you go. Fun new facts.
There were so many names, you know.
This is going much better than the first time, guys. Okay. At the end of 2014, Charles and Lori moved to Hawaii with Tylee and JJ. Okay. This time, later on, though, Lori is found vacationing on the same island with her new husband, Chad, just last month in 2020, January, this time without the children. So she's a big fan of Hawaii, Kauai, in fact, and she goes there with multiple partners.
Clearly.
So 2015, Lori is reported to be obsessed with Chad Daybell's doomsday books, and she was especially infatuated with Standing in Holy Places, which is a fictional series about various exciting prophesied events that must still occur before the second coming. Those books, let's see. She got really obsessed with them and started buying me those books too, which is Lori's friend told Fox 5 in an anonymous interview. She must have gotten close to him from the book. So this is from her friend saying that also. Okay. So she's kind of like a fan that needed to Black Widow her way into a marriage with this man who is equally as possibly twisted as Lori.
Apparently.
Okay.
He started a cult.
Yeah. December 5th, 2000. Well, he didn't start the cult. I guess.
I thought he did. If he created the publishing and wrote all the books and stuff, that's
it was directed. It was like a series directed towards the Latter-day Saints. So he's just kind of a skewed Mormon.
Okay.
But obsessed with doomsday stuff.
Okay.
Which maybe he is. If he's got, I guess if he's got a big enough
that's
following.
What I'm saying, like Mormons don't. I mean, they do believe that doomsday is coming because that's why a lot of them have so many kids because they're trying to prepare to take back over the earth once everybody dies.
This is probably a really naive question, but if only 144,000 people get into heaven, wouldn't it be filled already?
I don't think that's what they're saying. The Mormons believe that they have to stockpile and also reproduce to take over the earth because the whole earth is going to be taken, like everybody's going to be wiped off the face of the earth except for the Mormons. So the 144,000 have to repopulate.
Oh.
That's what that's what Mormons believe, is that they're preparing for reviving the earth after the apocalypse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we I still have a lot to learn about our various religions. We're not saying that Mormonism is a cult, but these guys were very culty with
these people took it a little far.
Yeah, especially with their end of the world stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, December 5th, 2018 was the first documented connection of Chad and Lori. And they went on a podcast together called Time to Warrior Up. And it was a doomsday prepper group that Lori's relatives worried was a religious cult. They appeared, let's see, on several different Preparing a People podcasts. Ooh! What was that?
That was a balloon. I bet the cat popped.
Oh, golly! Ah! That did not sound like a balloon in the headphones.
No, it didn't. That's the only thing I can think, though. Lulu was playing with it.
Okay. So, anyway, the organization that produced Preparing a People content has taken down its content connected with Lori and Chad and has since tried to distance themselves from the doomsday couple.
Wise choice.
Indeed.
But I'm going to say this again because I said it in the first one. It is so weird to me that a true crime story begins with a podcast.
And I'll say it again. Please don't start killing people.
No. Don't worry. Rachel and I are not going to start a cult. The spooky soulmates will stay the spooky soulmates.
I might join a cult later on, just depending on where I feel I need to be led, down the road. But I'm just kidding. I'm not going to join a cult. Chill out. Okay, February 2019 to March 2019, Lori mysteriously disappears for 58 days. Nobody knows to this day where she was. February 8th, 2019, Charles Vallow files for divorce from Lori. So, let's see.
So she disappears, and then he's like, I'm ending this.
Okay, yeah. Well, this was also when he noticed her God complex.
Oh, you mean when she said, hey, I'm God?
Yes. And he also claimed Lori threatened to kill him if he got in her way, and said that she transferred $35,000 of the couple's money to an unknown bank account. He later dropped the divorce filing and attempted to reconcile with his wife.
Why? That's too honorable.
I guess for the sake of the kids. He seems like
well, she didn't care about the
upstanding man. I know. Okay, July 11th, Charles is 2019 still. Charles is shot and killed by Lori's brother, Alexander Cox. Let's see. Charles went to Lori's rental home in Chandler, Arizona to pick up JJ. During an altercation, Lori's brother, Alex Cox, fatally shot Charles in the chest twice. Cox claimed it was a quote-unquote self-defense and was never charged by police. According to Charles and Lori's property manager, Joe something, neighbors reported a pool party at Lori's house later that day with loud music and lots of people swimming.
Okay, so just ignore the dead body.
Like, where was he
have
during
your
that
pool
time?
Party.
We'll
clean it up later. Nobody go in the kitchen.
I really want to see a live interview with Lori just to see what she's like.
Either she's like Kanye, who's got all the confidence behind it, or she's like just super glazed over and just like,
that's kind of how I picture her. I picture her completely clueless, and
she just thinks that she's going to get away with everything.
Yeah.
And so far she has.
I know, which is so infuriating. August 10th, 2019 was the last time Larry and Kay Woodcock, which are JJ's grandparents, spoke with JJ. And this was only during a 35-second FaceTime call.
I want to know what the contents of that call were, because that's really, really short.
I feel like we should be quiet for 35 seconds just to give them an idea. We won't, though. September 2019, Lori, Tylee, and JJ moved to Rexburg, Idaho. So we were unclear during the first time we recorded this if the children were seen there.
Yes, so they were seen in Idaho.
I believe so. Yes. So Lori, Tylee, and JJ moved to Rexburg at the beginning of September, although the reason for their move remains unclear. According to Lori's Arizona landlord, he asked the family to vacate the home where the shooting took place, possibly prompting their move to Rexburg, Idaho.
Is that the one where she wrote the letter to the school, or did she write the letter to the one in Idaho?
Idaho.
Okay.
Idaho? No, Idaho.
I've been wanting to make that joke this whole time. Just trying to be serious.
Sorry. I know. The second time around, it's really hard to be serious. But we still are taking this case very seriously because children are missing, and it is very, very frustrating. Okay, Tylee, which is the older sister again, she was planning on moving in with a friend in Arizona to stay there, but she decided that she wanted to remain with her little brother. And that says a lot in itself, that she wanted to probably protect him because she probably saw her mom kind of spinning.
Yeah.
At that time.
She's like, Mom's crazy.
I better stay with little brother, which is just super endearing. Okay. September 23rd, 2019 is the last time that he's seen at his new school, Kennedy Elementary in Rexburg, Idaho. So.
Why are they focusing on the last time JJ was seen and not the last time Tylee was seen? Because literally nobody has any idea when she was last seen, right?
Well, yeah, because it says here the last confirmed sighting of Tylee is unknown. However, the police believe that she was seen around this time as well. But I don't know why they can't pinpoint it. Yeah. I don't know.
Like, she matters too.
Yeah.
Especially if she was trying to save her brother.
Right. I kind of feel like maybe she had less family around.
Maybe.
You know, because the little brother's grandparents were really pushing to try and figure out where he is. But, you know, her dad's gone and...
That's
true.
No.
That's is true. He? Yeah, he is.
Yeah. Charles. Nope. Charles wasn't her dad.
Nope.
Joshua was. Joseph? Joshua? Anthony?
We're going to move on, guys. I'm so sorry. I don't even know.
The third one was her dad.
So I guess he is still around. I don't know why that more effort wasn't put in with her.
I don't either.
Yeah. Okay. October 9th, 2019, Tammy calls the police. This is Tammy Daybell, Chad's deceased wife.
Right.
She calls after a masked assailant attempted to shoot her with a paintball gun. And she was unloading groceries from her car when a man in a ski mask attempted to shoot her with what she believed to be a paintball gun at their home in Salem, Idaho. She called the police, but the assailant ran away before deputies arrived. So they believed it was a prank. The police didn't really take it seriously, and they never found this man.
I just want to know what made her think it was a paintball gun.
I know.
Because that usually has a nitrous tank on it.
Yeah.
It's very distinctive.
Right. I mean, I've never played paintball, but does it have like the same kind of boom as a gun? No.
It's like...
Yeah.
It's not a noise, like...
Unless it sounds like a gun being shot with a silencer.
No,
something.
and like, those things hurt.
Yeah.
And they're messy.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's literally like a long gun with a huge nitrous tank on the back because that's what powers the paintballs. So I don't understand how you could be like, oh.
Yeah. I don't know. But
like, I don't know if it was a paintball gun or if it was a super soaker. Like, that's what I would be going back and forth.
Well, it was very ominous because just 10 days later, October 19th, 2009, Tammy was found dead in her home. So she was just 49 years old, and I guess Chad refused to order an autopsy, so the coroner listed her death as natural. Makes sense.
So there was pretty much nothing abnormal from the eye, I guess. Like, it didn't look like she was shot with a bullet or anything.
No, yeah, because they still have to prepare her in some way or another. So
they would have noticed if there was something super out of the ordinary.
Okay, November 2019 was when Chad and Lori get married. The exact date is unknown, but they believe it was just a couple weeks after Tammy's death. So they did not waste any time getting together.
A few days after her death?
A few weeks.
Oh.
Yeah. Did I say days?
I thought you said days.
Oh. Well, it's a few weeks.
Either way. No. That's a little hasty.
Well, it's super suspicious. Mm-hmm. It's just not a normal thing to do.
No.
Okay. November 26th, 2019, Rexburg Police Department conducts a well-being check on JJ. When they did this, let me see here. They went to Chad and Lori's home, and the couple just told officers that JJ was staying with relatives in Arizona, which they later discovered was untrue. Police officers went to the couple's home the next day with a search warrant, but the couple was already gone. So they fled. They were gone.
Also very suspicious.
Yes. In December 11th, authorities decide to further investigate the death of Tammy Daybell.
Everyone's
catching on. Yes. So her body has been exhumed and submitted for an autopsy, but no results have come back yet. So that will say a lot. December 12th, Alexander Cox dies for unknown reasons in Arizona. That's Lori's brother, and the cause of his death still remains unknown.
I feel like he had to have known something.
Yeah.
And that's why they finished him off.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I feel like they were tying up all loose ends.
Yes.
With the text that we're going to read about later and the messages. Like, they literally are trying to really... Not well.
No, but like throw the suspicion off.
Okay, so this is also around the same time that the police department in Rexburg, they publicly say that Chad and Lori are not cooperating and that the children's disappearance may be tied to Tammy's suspicious death.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. Okay. So let's see. December 27th, 2019, Chad's friend Julie Rowe claims he had prophesied Tammy's death. So she was on, where was she interviewed? Okay, I guess Fox 13, and she said that Daybell had a quote-unquote vision from quote-unquote angels that Tammy would die years before her death in an interview with... Okay, well.
That's not
you get
hard
what I'm saying.
to do when you're the one who murders her.
When you're planning it. Okay, January 3rd, 2020, the Rexburg Police Department and FBI searched Tad and Tammy's former home. Chad. What did I say?
You said Tad and Tammy.
Well, they searched Chad and Tammy's former home. There's way too many names in this.
I know.
So they say that more than 43 items were collected from the home, including computers, cell phones, journals, documents, and medications. So they've all been sent to forensic experts for examination.
I can't believe they just left all that stuff there.
Yeah.
There's bound to be something that they find in all that.
I really hope so.
Me too.
January 5th, 2020, Lori's first son, Colby, remember him?
Yes.
Most of you probably don't because there's 8,000 people in this. But he makes a public plea to his mother. He goes on YouTube and he posts a video saying, you have the power to end this, Mom. You have the opportunity to put it all to rest.
Imagine having to go on YouTube to confront your mom. Like, you can't just call her up and be like, hey.
Not sure where you are, Mom, where you're vacationing, this time of year. But yeah, so he's really concerned about the well-being of his siblings.
Obviously.
Yes. Okay. Let's see.
Why didn't you just dump them on the grandparents?
Yeah.
Let them live,
Right. There were so many other things that they could have done.
Yeah.
There's always another option. Yeah, always. January 25th, 2020, local authorities locate Chad and Lori in Kauai, Hawaii. She's back in Hawaii. They were staying at a luxury condo at the Kaiulani of Princeville townhomes priced at $6,100 per month. When the authorities searched the unit the couple had been staying at since mid-December, they found no evidence that the children were ever there. Lori was court-ordered to physically produce the children before a judge in Rexburg, Idaho by January 30th. January 30th comes around, and the children weren't produced.
Of course.
And that's where we are at right now in the case, unfortunately. They did find recently, a couple days ago, some messages to family and friends, and actually JJ's former school, where she basically just said, we're trying to move on with life. It's not been easy, but I have to do what I can for the kids. Thanks for everything. We are headed out of state. Like, she even tells the school that, thank you for all you've done. I'm going to recommend you to people continuously because I really appreciate everything that you guys stand for, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to homeschool my son, take him out, let me know what I need to do to make it official. Very weird and messed up. Also, suspiciously, before the move, Lori gave away JJ's service dog. So you don't just do that if your kid is alive and well. That is a huge part of their life.
You give up a service dog if you don't need the service.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Autistic kids need their service dogs.
Yes.
That's...
Yeah. So, according to Charles Vallow, in the divorce documents that he filed before his death, it said that Lori believes that she is a god assigned to carry out the work of the 144,000 at Christ's second coming that's set to happen July 2020. Again, just to reiterate, she told Charles, which is her, again, ex-husband, I know there's a lot, that she would kill him if he ever got in her way, and she had an angel there to help her dispose of the body. Court documents.
So was that her brother? Was that Chad?
Yeah. I honestly, who knows for sure, but I think it probably was her brother. And then
pool party!
He had to go because he knew too much and they couldn't chance it. Lori rented a storage unit that they found recently, and the police, So Lori, in the storage unit, her late brother, Cox, carried heavy items and bikes to and from there, and Cox often arrived alone, but an unknown man appeared with him 2 days before the police tried to perform the welfare check. Okay. And when the police searched the unit, they found bikes, a scooter, a backpack, winter clothes. Let's think about when the children went missing. It was before winter.
Yeah.
So they're not going to need those winter clothes. Photos, including blankets featuring photos of the children, and a jersey with Colby Ryan's name.
Just seems like she just wanted to get rid of all her kids.
Yeah. So they haven't taken a next step since Lori has not produced the children, but they say that she could face civil or contempt of court charges for her refusal.
Well, maybe they'll finally get to arrest her on that. And then when the autopsy comes back for Tammy, maybe that'll lead something. Maybe the stuff that they got from the apartment that Tammy and Chad lived in will have something.
There's a lot out right now that needs to be processed that could hopefully give us answers.
She's probably just trying to hold out till July 2020 when she thinks that the world's going to end.
I mean, probably. But hopefully they'll nab her from Hawaii, bring her back to Idaho, where the kids were last seen.
She's on an island. It's not like she can go that far.
I mean, true.
All right.
Send dog after her.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Dog bounty hunter.
All right. So again, we'll let you guys know when updates happen there, but please be checking it, if you're interested, because like I said, things are happening every day almost.
Yes. Okay. The story I'm going to cover is actually, it happened here in Griffin, Georgia.
Where's Griffin?
Griffin is about an hour south of Atlanta.
Okay.
So it's about an officer, Officer Matthew Boynton, and his wife,
I like
Jessica
his last name.
Boynton. Well, you won't like him by the end of this. Okay, so I'm going to tell Matthew's story first. Okay. All right. So Matthew said that Jessica came in and confronted him while he was in the shower using his phone. Point blank asked him, "Are you having an affair? Are you cheating on me?" And he admitted to the affair. They got into like a little fight about it, but they moved on. They had 2 kids. And that night, Jessica decided she was going to stop breastfeeding the youngest one. So they needed to go to Walmart to get formula, according to Matthew. So they go at 10:45 because she's going to wean the baby. I think she had gotten a job, and that was like her mindset was, I'm going to be able, I'm going to need to, I need to work. While at Walmart, Matthew said that they had an argument in the baby food aisle and that she refused to ride home with him. He said that they arrived home, but she found a separate ride, and they got home both around 11 o'clock, which is like, why? You're going to the same place,
Yeah.
Then around 11, she comes to him, she's sobbing, and she asks him to call EMS. And he's like, why? What's wrong? And she's just like beside herself. And
no, did something happen to the baby?
No.
Okay,
the children were fine.
Oh, God, okay.
She just went and locked herself in their master closet. And so he just leaves. And he's like, I'm going to go down to the Waffle House and I'm going to have a late night snack with my good officer friend, Guthrie.
Calm down. I'm going to go down to Waffle House, and when I'm back, you better get this under control. That's how I feel like he's talking.
So he leaves to go to Waffle House with his fellow officer, Guthrie. Halfway there, he gets a suicide note text on his phone. It says, I can't do this anymore. Take care of the children. Please tell them I love them every day. I have been suffering for a while now and no one has noticed. Here lately, I have not been able to recognize the person I see in the mirror. This is not the first time I have had suicide thoughts. I love you and the boys. So he turns around in the middle of the road, races 90 miles per hour back to the apartment, trying to get to her in time.
Where the kids must have been asleep?
He wanted to make sure the boys were safe because she said take care of the boys. So he's like, oh my God, like she's going to shoot my kids, whatever.
Right.
Which I would like to point out is not really the hallmark of a suicidal person. That's a homicidal person, but we'll get there.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So he's racing 90 miles per hour to get back. He calls dispatch on the way to send EMS to his apartment. He says he's trying to make sure nothing's going to happen to the kids. 6 minutes pass. He reports as he's going up the stairwell right in front of his apartment, he hears 2 gunshots and then he smells gun smoke. He runs in, checks the bedroom, the master bedroom, which is usually where the baby is. The baby isn't there, and he runs back outside. They asked him why. Like, why didn't you go find your kids,
Right.
And he was like, oh, I was not sure if this was like an active situation, and she would like shoot me and shoot the kids and then shoot herself and blah, blah, blah. So he just wanted to get outside.
Okay.
Is that like a normal parent's thought process?
I mean,
I would throw myself in front of a bullet for my children.
Yeah. I guess like he has a different kind of a mindset because he's a police officer and he's used to going to those kind of calls, but when it's your own family, you'd think,
does he though?
Get your kids. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay. So that's his story.
Okay.
The police show up and they check the apartment with guns drawn. There's actually a body cam video. It's 25 minutes. I got to watch it. It was really interesting.
Oh.
On an Officer Jones, it shows the 25 minutes that from the point they arrive until EMS comes and gets her. Okay. Matthew is standing outside his apartment, just blabbering on, like crying about how I just should have been here. Blah, blah, blah. He's in a red sweatshirt. The closet is locked. They hear a baby crying. They go and look. The baby is in his crib. It's like you walk in, and on the left is the master. You go through the living room and the dining room, and then there's like the 2 kids' bedrooms in the back.
Okay, so it's like a ranch. Oh, an apartment.
It's an apartment building. Okay, so the older boy, they glance in. He's asleep in his bed. They bust down the closet door. Jessica is on the floor, like her feet are kind of blocking the closet door. They push it in and get in there. Her head is perfectly laid on a pillow. Oh. And she is like going in and out of consciousness, blood all over the pillow.
She's still alive.
She's still alive.
Okay.
They look, there's no blood spatter.
Okay.
So like when somebody shoots themselves, there's usually blood spatter.
Right.
There's 2 bullet holes. They don't really make sense. There's one like at the top of the closet kind of going out into the master. And there's one like right a foot off the floor. Okay.
Okay.
Right near where she was. On the shelf above her head sits the divorce notebook that she had usually kept hidden. It's a red composition book, and it's just sitting on top of her clothes in plain view, right above her head.
Okay.
Matthew's gun, his duty gun, is under her stomach.
But plus, it's probably important to say, like, women don't normally shoot themselves when they commit suicide, because women, they found that like they're family minded and they don't want there to be a lot of trauma, and they want it to be easy cleanup. Like even when they're suicidal, a lot of times moms and wives, we're
still taking care of everybody.
Honestly though, you know, so like that's not like a normal MO for a mom and a wife.
No. You can see when the officer goes back out, they get her out of the closet and they lay her down on the master floor. They're calling EMS. They're trying to do vitals on her. The officer goes back out. Another officer has grabbed the baby, and she's like saying, "Hey, we need you to go get formula," which is odd because didn't they just go get formula?
Oh, yeah.
That was weird to me. You can see from the body cam, Matthew's phone is laying in front of the microwave.
Okay.
So he said that he just ran in, took a quick glance, and ran back out, but his phone is sitting on the counter. Okay. Also, you can see the dog is running around with his leash on.
Okay.
Okay. Officer Jones makes the remark after getting Jessica out of the closet and onto her bedroom floor. He says, "She's fighting it, ain't she?" Meaning fighting to live. He notes that she had to be standing when the gun went off, but that the bullet holes don't really make sense. They couldn't quite place how she was standing to like have shot herself.
Right.
Just before 2 a.m., Sheriff Beam, who oddly enough is Matthew Boynton's grandfather.
Oh.
Sheriff of the department. His grandson. Okay. Sends officers to her grandparents' house to notify them of her death. Except she wasn't dead.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, so
what about her parents? Are they just not
her? I'll get to the backstory in just a second. Okay, so as the EMS roll her out on a gurney, she has a strong pulse. She's breathing. Matthew can be heard wailing, "How could she do this to the boys? She said she loved me." He goes on and on about how if he had been there 10 minutes earlier, he could have jumped in front of her. Officer Jones tells him, "Calm down. She has a good pulse, blood pressure. She's fighting it." And Matthew pauses and then asks where she shot herself at. Jones says he couldn't tell. Matthew continues to blabber his entire story. It's like he's trying to cover his tracks at this point. He's like telling him exactly what happened to Jones. Jones asks him at the end, he goes, "So, was the door open or did you open it?" And Matthew hesitates. And then he says, "Well, the front door was locked and he had put his key in it." He says as he came up the stairs, he had his keys and his phone in his hand, and his gun was in the house. And then he just trails off into a string of expletives. He doesn't explain why his phone is now suddenly transported from his hand in front of the microwave in the kitchen. It would later come to light that while he was racing back from Waffle House 90 miles per hour, he was calmly texting his mistress with his phone that was in the kitchen of his apartment at the time of these texts with LOLs.
Uh-oh.
Video footage also shows they got them walking in and out of Walmart. He had a gray sweatshirt on at the time of Walmart.
Uh-oh.
And that Jessica did leave and get in the truck with him. So that's Matthew's story.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to do some backstory here.
Okay.
So this was taken from the New Yorker. It was an article October 7th, 2019, written by Rachel Aviv. She kind of talked a lot more about the backstory, which I was trying to find. So Jessica's mom bailed, and she and her siblings were taken in by her adoptive grandparents in 2013.
Okay.
This is a year into dating who she thought was rich Matt. You know, he came from a much better family than her. Within a year, she was pregnant. Matt isolated her from her friends and family, saying that they weren't her blood because she was adopted. And so he was like, no, you're not going to go see them. You're going to stay with me. And he became very, very possessive. Matt was way too tight as an officer, and he had called the police on Jessica twice for yelling / cursing and or poking him in the chest. Real threatening. Okay. She was advised by officers not to yell at Matt. In 2014, Jessica had an affair, and she got pregnant.
Uh-oh.
Matt said that he would raise the child as his own, and they got married. The life, according to, I think it was her aunt, seemed squished out of her at her wedding. Like, it just looked like she thought, I'm stuck now, you know? So they rented the apartment in Griffin, Georgia. Jessica did not have her own credit card or car, so if she needed something, Matthew got it, or his grandfather, Sheriff Beam, got it and delivered it to her.
Ugh, it's so weird.
When Matt drove the patrol car, he took the keys to the truck, so Jessica couldn't drive it.
What a psychopath.
Matt's stepmother confided in her Aunt Denise that Matt had once hit Jessica and their relationship was not good, and to watch out for her because he was going to hurt her. This was his stepmother.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In spring 2016, Matt confesses to the affair with the dispatcher at his office. So it's not just a woman, it's the dispatcher.
Oh. I thought he confessed to the dispatcher.
No,
he
confessed to Jessica that he was having an affair with the dispatcher.
Okay.
So they agreed to divorce. It was a mutual thing. That's why she was like, I need to go out and get formula. She kept a notebook with items that was like, okay, he was gone from this time to this time, unaccounted for. She was trying to basically keep divorce notes so that she could get full custody of the kids.
Which is super smart.
It was super smart. So then she was planning to move to her sister's April 15th, and she had gotten a job to start that week as well. She was super excited. So she wasn't upset about this. It was a mutual thing. She was really happy. By the way, April 15th is when this all went down.
Yeah.
That leads up to that night. Then Matthew's story is what happened from his side. She is in the hospital in a coma, okay? Medically induced coma.
Is she still alive?
She was still alive.
No, she's still alive right now.
She's still alive now.
Oh my gosh.
She survived.
Yay! Oh,
so,
okay.
What happened, she doesn't remember what happened.
What? Wait. Oh, no.
She has no clue. The last thing she remembers, and I'll get to that later, but it was that night she remembers, I think, getting in the altercation with the shower, with the phone.
Okay.
You know, and him admitting that he was having an affair. She remembers that part.
Wait, I'm confused, though, because if she confronted him on this and stuff, like, I thought she already knew about it, and she was, like, cool with it, and she was
They were
leaving.
cool with it, supposedly.
Okay. Well, then why would she care if she was leaving?
What do you mean?
Like, why would she confront him and get
She wanted proof that he was cheating so she would get the kids.
So she didn't... So this was all, like, just part of her background
she didn't
stuff.
want to be with him anymore.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Okay.
But according to him, she was upset about it. Yeah, okay,
and she was so upset.
Got it.
Okay. In the hospital, she wakes up. She has no idea what happened that night.
Oh, no.
But she does know that she did not love Matt anymore, and she was happy about the divorce. So keep that in mind.
Okay.
Martha, Jessica's grandma, said that she refused to touch guns. And furthermore, Jessica didn't even know how to get the gun out of his holster because it has like a safety lock on it. So if he's like, you know, wrestling with an assailant, they can't just pull it out and shoot it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He had even asked her to clean the gun for her or bring it to him so he could clean it. She was like, I can't. You're going to have to go get it out. I have no idea how to get it out.
Okay.
Her sister Dusty knew Jessica knew how it felt to grow up without a mom, and she would never do that to the boys that she loved so much. The GBI is called in to investigate. So this is the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. They're called in early that morning, and Matt is interviewed. He is told that he may have to turn in his clothes, and he says, I haven't changed anything. I haven't even washed my hands.
That's a lie.
Thank goodness for the body cam, right?
Yeah.
The investigation was rushed to get Matt cleared and back in duty per the sheriff.
Okay.
So, like, within weeks, they clear him, and they say, it was suicide.
Are they that short-staffed?
Right.
Like, there's a lot of people that could fill his position, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
But he's the grandson of the sheriff.
Right, sure. Yeah, he's got connections.
It's a reputation to protect. Okay, so Matt and the boys move in with his mistress. Weeks later, they broke up because she found him intimidating. She said, "I know that he's a police officer and I'm not really anybody." So that goes a long way to say of how much pull he has because of his grandfather. Jessica woke up in early May and had no memory of what happened. Her skull had been fractured, but no bullet had penetrated it. And she wanted her boys back. A week after waiting, the GBI, Jared Coleman, interviews her. All she remembered was going to Walmart. When asked if she had handled Matt's gun, she said she couldn't even get it out of the holster. So she confirmed that. When asked if she thought of hurting herself, she said no, especially because of my children. I'd never, ever wanted to hurt myself before. And when asked if she thought Matthew could do this, she didn't know. Her psych assessment showed no depression or suicidal tendencies. She was assessed to have good mood and proper judgment and insight. Henderson, her surgeon, said she was a very positive person who was embracing the opportunities that a new lease on life afforded her by her recent recovery. She speaks lovingly of her children and the need to and desire to see them. She was released from the hospital into her grandparents' care, and 3 days later received a restraining order preventing her from seeing Matthew or her boys because, quote, probable cause exists that family violence has occurred in the past and may occur in the future. In June, Matt requests the restraining order to be extended to a year, arguing that if she would attempt to take her own life, she means business and is capable of doing something to her children.
He's got all that connection. That's so scary. It's so scary.
Oh, it gets worse.
Oh, no.
Furthermore, he said her grandparents were not blood related and they could not be trusted either. So the kids can't see any of her side. No.
You guys, fully vet your future spouse before you marry them, okay?
We give you permission to stalk.
Yes. Interview all of their family members, their past, either girlfriends, boyfriends. Make sure that you're getting into a relationship where you're not going to be screwed. Yes. Good night.
Her lawyer asked if her doctors had been spoken to because the Dr. Henderson had stated the investigation into her was in no way reflected by their observations in the ER.
Right.
So the GBI, it's like nothing they were reporting had anything to do with what the doctor had said.
Right.
You know, Matt stated his only concern was the GBI conclusion. Of course.
I worry for the kid that's not his kid.
I was worried about that too.
Yeah.
Her lawyer asked to put witnesses on the stand to testify about Matt's psychological abuse, though one requested anonymity because she was afraid of him. The judge laughed at them and laughed off the request, acting like it was an absurd and unheard of notion to put someone anonymous on the stand.
Okay, butthole.
The protective order was dismissed, but Matthew was granted full custody, and Jessica only gets to see her boys for 4 hours on Sunday afternoons. Matt's lawyer proposed that Sheriff Beam supervise these visits and carry his weapon just in case.
Oh my God. Like, can you imagine as a mother, because we're mothers, only being able to see your kids for 4 hours,
right?
Like, one day of the week.
Right.
I would lose my freaking mind.
I know.
Especially if
that
somebody...
was probably his plan.
Right, was holding that over your head.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, her family, or Angels, they agreed to pay $100 every Sunday to be observed by a different armed agent than Sheriff Beam.
Oh.
To give her that freedom. So that's $400 a month.
Wow.
Give or take.
Who are they paying?
They were paying the judge. So
is that okay? I don't understand. Okay.
Right? Like, they shouldn't have had to.
No.
They should have been able to say, no, this is a conflict of interest.
Different sheriff or a different officer. 100%.
No, they made him pay. Or they made them pay.
That is weird.
Jessica had another psych evaluation per the judge and was only diagnosed with acute stress disorder, which only occurs, according to a doctor, when an individual is exposed to actual or threatened death. Jessica was hired at a child care center and does great watching 10 2-year-olds, which her coworkers think is pretty odd that she can't be trusted with her own boys.
Oh my gosh. And then have to be around kids all week long and not to be able to be around your own kids. That would be so heartbreaking.
So September 2016, the GBI closed the case, saying her wounds were self-inflicted.
Okay.
Her DNA was on the gun, which, duh, she was laying on the dang gun. The chief medical examiner spent all of 90 minutes on her case and never examined her. Yet they listened to his assessment that she shot herself in the head and never investigated this bruise on her neck. So her her grandmother noticed that she had this weird circular bruise on the back of her neck.
Like where a gun was pushing or something?
Who knows?
Okay.
Nobody looked into it. So let me just cover all the discrepancies real quick, okay? So Matt was wearing a different sweater.
Yes.
Jessica did not ride home from Walmart separately. They went to Walmart to buy formula, yet the officer Trummel in the body cam had to run out to get formula because Jessica was breastfeeding and there was no formula in the house. Matt said he heard 2 gunshots at 1 a.m. Neighbors heard 2 gunshots at 11 p.m.
Oh.
And some banging shortly
before. So she was just laying there for that long? Oh my gosh.
He said he did not go into the apartment, yet his phone was in the apartment, the door was open, and he had casually texted his mistress from there at the time he was reporting the gunshots. There was no gunshot wound or gunpowder stippling on Jessica's hands, and the wound on Jessica's head was more like blunt force trauma on the top of her skull, reported by Vernon Henderson, a 20-year trauma surgeon.
Yeah.
And neurosurgeon Paul King said it seemed someone else had shot her. If you're committing suicide, you don't hold the gun directly above your head.
Right.
It makes no sense. Okay. Jessica did not know how to release Matt's duty weapon from the holster, and it was holstered in the closet.
Mm-hmm.
Matt's hand was not tested for gunpowder residue. There was no blood spatter. Jessica's divorce notebook was in plain view, and some pages were ripped out.
Uh-oh.
The suicide note said she loved him, but she woke up and said, I do not love him anymore, which... pretty hard evidence there. Sheriff Beam, Matt's grandfather, reported Jessica's family that she had died when she was in fact alive.
Right.
The GBI signed paperwork saying she had died of a suicide, though she was still alive.
Yeah.
Matt can be heard on the body cam crying about her being dead and how she said she loved him, which it made it sound like, he thought she was gone.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yet she had a good pulse and was being taken to the hospital for treatment. Matt said he was afraid to enter the apartment for fear she had shot the kids and would shoot her next. But who in their right mind doesn't rush to save their own children if they truly believe they're in danger?
Right.
Officer Jones noted Jessica was fighting for her life when they discovered her, despite it being apparent suicide. And you can see her. She's like swatting away the EMS, like eyes rolling back in her head. She was trying to like speak, you know?
Yeah.
The GBI lied and said Matt's phone wasn't in the apartment. So there was an investigator that took it upon herself to call the GBI and ask them about some things in the case that didn't make sense. They have physical evidence. Like they took photographs with the, like, you know how they put the little numbers by things like, this is number 4 evidence, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4 evidence by the gun in front of the microwave. It was collected as evidence. Like it's there. Okay. Yeah. The GBI said, what are you talking about? That wasn't there. And they made up some stupid excuse. And then got aggressive toward the investigator who challenged them, even though there was photograph and video evidence of it during the police response. So it was on the body cam. There were pictures of it and everything.
Right.
And he was like, you don't want to mess with me. And she was like, what does that mean?
She was like, I think I do.
I know. She ended up calling the GBI, like getting in touch with somebody above him, was like, what does he mean by that? And they're like, he's nothing. So
what
then,
a Chad.
Yeah, there was a C-shaped bruise on the back of her neck, which it was her Aunt Kathy. She photographed and even shared it with the GBI. Nothing came of that.
Okay.
The GBI did not record an interview with a neurosurgeon and only noted the circumstances were suspicious, according to King. Why wouldn't they record that?
Yeah. Yeah.
King also said it would have been easy to bag and test her hands for gunpowder, but with Matt being a cop and his grandfather the sheriff, he understood what was happening. Okay, so back to September 2016, the GBI closed the case saying it was suicide, self-inflicted. It had her DNA on it. Duh, she'd been laying on the gun. They spent all of 90 minutes on the case, never looked at the bruise on her neck. The dynamics of their marriage was never mentioned in the report. They recorded interviews with Matthew's fellow officers, of whom he was good friends, and no interviews with any of Jessica's family or friends. Grandfather Sheriff Beam was elected sheriff in 2011 and was reportedly resistant to change.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about Sheriff Beam real quick.
Okay.
The patrol division captain, David Gibson, who Sheriff Beam had promoted, was reported by female officers for frequently telling them, and this is explicit, to shut your cock garage. And also reported saying the secretary should wear a cowbell around her neck so he'd always know where she was. Gibson had worked in the office for 28 years and seemed invincible. He boasted that he had gotten Sheriff Beam elected. He also bragged about killing a woman with a wood chipper and threatened that would happen to them if they, I guess, went against him.
Stepped out of line or something? Yeah.
He pressured a deputy named Misty Piper to have sex with him, and she agreed to only because she thought he would kill her if she didn't.
Oh, my God.
Twice she testified that he choked her. In 2012, she complained to Sheriff Beam, and he said if she put her accusations into writing, he would look into it. And then she realized, well, I don't have enough connections to protect me. Mm-hmm. So she didn't do it. If Beam would protect Gibson, it stands to reason he'd protect his own grandson.
Yeah.
You know? The following year, Gibson headlocked a female colleague and put a taser to her head. A male sergeant saw the exchange and reported him to Beam, who only got him undocumented counseling.
Okay.
2 years after that, Gibson slapped a secretary on the back of the head to show a male officer, quote, how we take care of secretaries around here.
What the crap?
And he was never disciplined for it. A female officer, Whitehouse, met with Beam to discuss how demeaning Gibson was, and he made her meet on the outskirts of town in this, like, unknown location. And she feared for her life, so she decided she was going to record the conversation just in case he, like, offed her. She was again told to write up her accusations, and she was scared to follow through. It was dropped. A captain in internal affairs noticed this several months later, that it was dropped, and he decided to pursue an investigation into Gibson. He was found to be a predator and was allowed to retire per Beam's orders and keep his pension. The secretary he slapped was asked to write his resignation letter. The GBI looked into Gibson's actions because they were obviously criminal at this point, and they wondered why he was so protected. In December of 2016, Jessica reports to the sheriff's department that Matt still had some of her belongings. She was missing some clothes and her retainer. Matt signed a sworn statement saying that he had nothing of hers. The girl he was now dating, Shelby Willie, discovers a gym bag full of clothes and a retainer with the name Jessica on it.
Oh.
As they were preparing to move in together in January of 2017. She asked Matt about it. I know. She asked Matt about it, and he said he had meant to burn it, that Jessica had packed it one night to leave him. Willie was uncomfortable with Matt's demeanor and confided to a friend in a Facebook message that nothing added up as she heard the case coming out. She didn't like that Matt told Beam everything, but it was all confidential. So he would tell the sheriff everything, but nothing could be released because it was in confidence.
Right. Well, it's just this wall of connections.
It's like an impenetrable wall.
Yeah. So, so much corruption.
Which takes me back to Alyssa Turney's case and the impenetrable wall of the Phoenix Police Department.
Right.
Okay, so Willie and Matt broke up in May, and she messaged Jessica to tell her the boys were not being well taken care of. They were living off of junk food and sleeping at odd hours. At this point, Jessica finally had them half the time. Willie said that Willie said that Matthew was a ticking time bomb, and he didn't let her go anywhere without telling him her location. When they talked about Jessica, he thought it was funny and said, it's a damn shame she didn't do it right the first time.
Okay.
Willie found the gym bag, and as she went to move out, she decided to tell a local truck driver, Will Sanders, who was like part-time freelance investigator, about it. He convinced her to sneak in and grab the bag and then dropped it off at the GPD. Matthew was questioned. He lied at first and then acknowledged he had known about the bag all along. Because he had lied on a sworn statement, he was forced to resign.
Yay!
In July of 2017, he was charged with 2 felonies, one of making false statements and the other of violating his oath of office.
Finally!
April 2018, 9 months later, Jessica calls to see why Matthew hasn't been before a grand jury, and the DA claims they cannot find proof that the oath of office was administered to Matthew. The document could not be found. A reporter submits an Open Records Act request to the magistrate court, and within 3 hours has this official document that they've been searching for 6 months.
Okay.
So he went before the grand jury, July 2018, and for some reason, the grand jury chose not to indict him on either charge.
Come on now.
4 months later, he's hired as a reserve officer for Braswell, Georgia. So sorry for anybody who lives in Braswell.
Oh, yeah.
Jessica's grandparents asked the GBI to reopen the case as Sheriff Beam had been voted out of the office due to Gibson's mess, and this new sheriff walked into his office to discover 9 bags of shredded documents that model inmates had been tasked with destroying for 2 weeks per Sheriff Beam's request.
What?
This includes wiping computers, shredding notebooks, and other documentation.
Oh my God.
The new sheriff, Daryl Did, that may be a it was Dix. Daryl Dix, sorry, was present the night Jessica was shot and doubted the GBI's investigation to begin with. Sanders, the truck driver / freelance investigator, called out Yates, the chief of Griffin Police, in July 2018 on Facebook for not allowing Sheila Matthews, who was a reporter, access to public information, which was more proof of the female intimidation that was going on.
I really like this truck driver.
I know, he's something else. And within 2 hours, Yates, the chief of the Griffin Police, told Sanders his private Facebook messages would be made public to anyone who questioned his motives. He said he had obtained them a year prior as part of the investigation into Jessica's missing gym bag. The purpose of this was assuming that Sanders was involved in 2 burglaries, but he later blamed all of it on a cut and paste error.
Ugh.
So they made up that he was a burglar to get these documents off of Facebook. Mm-hmm. So plot twist, they can get your Facebook messages. Sanders had to delete his Facebook, which is the main source of gathering info, because of how intimidating Yates was.
Wow.
Gibson was indicted on 14 charges, but only pled guilty to 2. He served 3 years and will finish probation, and then his slate is wiped clean. Sanders now lives in fear of being set up and jailed unfairly. He keeps Jessica's notebook and old phone at an undisclosed location and hopes the feds will one day ask for them. Jessica's older son has claimed Matthew hurt him and even told a child psychologist that he was sad because Daddy scares him.
Oh, no.
And he went on to say, Daddy was up the hill and hurt me in his house. The investigation into this, of course, found nothing. Jessica got temporary full custody during the investigation, and in spring 2019, the child psych recommended, after 25 sessions with the boys, that they no longer see Matthew.
Good. Okay, good.
She is now with a kind man named Jacob, but she still reflexively asks his permission to go to the store, and he's like, you can do whatever you want, babe. And she's like, okay. She still has headaches, weakness in her left foot, and amnesia relating to that night, but she does remember that she went to the closet for shoes to walk the dog, whose leash was seen intact.
Oh.
Now, if you want to help her, you can sign a petition, and we'll put the link.
Okay, yeah.
You know, we're trying to get the feds to take a look at this case to serve further justice, because Matthew's off living his life in Brownsville, Georgia as a reserve police officer. And yes, she has custody of her kids, but so much damage has been done, and he almost got away with a murder, we're pretty sure.
Thank God she survived.
Right?
Especially for the kids' sake.
I know it. So there's 11,947 signatures, and they need 15,000. So you guys can help us do that. We'll put it in the show notes.
Fantastic. Wow.
So,
all right. Well, sort of good ending.
It sucks, though. Like, how many police are corrupt, you know?
Well, so many.
I know.
Unfortunately. But, okay. Well, come on up. We are about to play Who Said It? A Child or a Serial Killer? Oh, and let's say hello to our first contestant. Ma'am, what is your name? Ma'am?
Kaila.
Kaila, it's a little rude to be eating a piece of chocolate while you're on stage, but maybe you didn't expect to be pulled up here. Anyway, okay, let's see here. I am going to be playing with you because that's just how this game works. Okay, the first quote is, I promise I won't ever chew on your bones. I promise. Did a child or a serial killer say this?
I'm going to go with child.
I will also go with child. Correct! The perpetrator was a 3-year-old.
Maybe future serial killer?
Yes. I love you so much that I want to cut your head off and carry it around so I can see your face whenever I want. Who said it? Child or serial killer?
That's gotta be a kid, right?
I'm going to say serial killer. You were right, Kaila. It was a child, and he presumably hasn't murdered anyone yet. Next one. I like children. They are tasty.
Oh, that's gotta be a serial killer.
I'm going to say child just to be defiant. What? And it was a serial killer. Albert Fish, the man who made lamps out of human skin.
No! You know, I saw on Instagram this week, there was a diary made out of skin and a Furby face.
Ew. Hate that.
Yeah. It was nightmare fuel.
I want to peel your skin off. Child or serial killer?
That's gotta be a serial killer.
I will say child.
You're just gonna say opposite of whatever I
And
say.
it was a child.
What?
According to so-and-so, his daughter woke him up at 6 a.m. and delivered these horrifying words. Why? Well, the sunburn on his face was starting to peel.
I want to peel your skin off, Dad.
Believe me, if I started murdering people, there'd be none of you left. Child or serial killer?
That's gotta be serial killer. That sounds too adult.
I will also say serial killer. Correct. Charles Manson said that.
Oh.
I'm imagining the waves of blood rushing over me. Child or serial killer?
Okay, now see, this could be really innocent in like they've learned that they have blood flowing through their body.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just like, oh my gosh, I can imagine the waves of blood. But I'm going to say serial killer.
I think it's a child based on what you just said. It was a child.
I should have followed my own damn logic.
According to the submitter, his niece said this with a blank look on her face and has mostly...
I'm imagining the waves of blood washing over. Get her to a child psychologist.
She said, has most likely never taken a shower of blood. I like whoever wrote this is very funny with words. My brain is telling me to do things I don't want to do.
That sounds like a kid.
Oh, I was going to say serial killer.
Really?
Yeah. All right. Let's see. It was a 4-year-old after talking with his imaginary friend.
Okay.
Next one. Death comes with the territory. See you in Disneyland.
That's got to be a serial killer.
Okay, I'll say that too. Correct. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, famously said this after receiving 19 life sentences for murdering 14 people.
Okay, he was Looney Tunes.
Whew, okay. Tell her to be my girlfriend or she'll never see her parents again. Child or serial killer?
That could easily be either. I'm going to say serial killer because I don't think a kid would threaten that the girl would never see her parents again.
I think it's a child. And it's a child.
Oh, my word. What is the context?
After asking a 7-year-old what's the best way to get a girlfriend, this person received this bone-chilling response.
Okay, that's not a child. That's a serial killer in training.
Okay. A clown can get away with murder. I think it's a serial killer because remember there was that serial killer that was a clown. Yeah. A couple of them.
Yeah. Let's go with serial killer.
Correct. John Wayne Gacy, a.k.a. the clown killer, said this. Get it? Because he was a clown and he killed them. People, lots of them. Okay. Last one. This is for all the points. Because points don't matter. When you die, I want to put you in a glass jar so I can keep you and see you forever.
That's 100% a kid.
I will also say child. Correct!
Like, it's such a fine line between endearing and just horrifying.
So the submitter heard a 5-year-old say this. Worst of all, a 6-year-old's response, which was, that's stupid. Where are you going to find a jar that big?
Oh my God. Children these days, they're too busy watching these true crime docs with their parents.
I thought that would be a fun little way to end this episode.
That was interesting.
At least a little bit more lighthearted.
Wow. Well, after that, good luck sleeping, y'all.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot, so good luck sleeping.